The faded Polaroids, edges curled with age, flutter to the floor. Hands shaking, Detective Samantha Novak stares at the open steamer trunk, hardly daring to breathe. Because inside, nestled amid moth-eaten clothes and rusted relics, lie two skeletons. Two skeletons wearing matching wedding bands. 12 years earlier, on a crisp October morning in 1990, newlyweds Ethan and Olivia Callahan boarded the Cascadia Express, a luxury train winding through the snow-dusted Rockies from Vancouver to Banff. It was their honeymoon, a journey of champagne bubbles and golden hour kisses, snuggled close as cedar forests and shimmering lakes wheeled by outside their private sleeper car. They were madly in love, dizzy with dreams of the future. But they never made it to Banff. Somewhere between Kamloops and Revelstoke, the Callahans vanished into thin air. No witnesses, no signs of struggle, just an empty cabin, two full champagne flutes, and a dining car receipt time-stamped 8:17 p.m. on October 14th. Search teams combed the rugged canyons and rushing rivers flanking the tracks, but not a trace was found. Journalists swarmed the grieving families, speculating about scandalous secrets and marital strife, but friends painted a portrait of soulmates: Olivia, an effervescent art student, and Ethan, a gentle pediatric nurse with kind eyes. Neither had enemies, neither stood to gain from insurance. It made no sense. As the years ticked by and tips ran dry, the case went cold. Ethan's mother retreated into her Catholic faith, rosary beads worn smooth. Olivia's father, a brawny former. Cops started drinking heavily, haunted by the daughter he couldn't save until today, when a shaken antique dealer pried open an unclaimed steamer trunk and dialed 911 with trembling fingers. Detective Novak crouches beside the bones, fighting a wave of nausea. She's worked dozens of homicides, but this one cuts deep. Because entwined between the skeletal fingers are two tickets to the Cascadia Express, dated October 14th, 1990. The truth, it seems, was buried with the Callahans all along, and now it's screaming to be heard. The story of Ethan and Olivia was a fairy tale until it became a nightmare. Their love ignited on a moonlit beach in Tofino, both students working summer jobs at a luxury resort. Olivia, an art history major at UBC, was a chambermaid. Ethan, studying nursing at Seattle U, bartended in the hotel lounge. It was like the universe aligned when they met. Olivia's best friend Jessa recalls, eyes misting, two gentle souls colliding. Olivia was a dreamer, a romantic who painted vibrant seascapes and quoted roomy poems. Ethan was her perfect counterpoint, grounded, loyal, quietly athletic. He taught her to surf on molten August mornings. She sketched him in charcoal by firelight. They bonded over mutual dreams of helping others. Olivia through art therapy, Ethan as a pediatric nurse. That fall, when she returned to UBC and he to Seattle, the distance only deepened their devotion. Ethan sent pressed wildflowers and heartfelt letters. Olivia mailed him whimsical paintings and mixed tapes of their favorite indie bands. On weekends, they'd alternate driving the 140 miles to spend precious hours wrapped in each other's arms. He treated her like gold, Jessa remembers. Half the girls in our dorm were green with envy. One crisp April evening, after a beachside picnic in Stanley Park, Ethan dropped to one knee and proposed, tears in his eyes. Olivia tackled him before he could finish, crying, "Yes!" as the tangerine sunset melted into the horizon. They married that July in a lavender field on Vancouver Island, exchanging handwritten vows. Olivia, radiant in vintage lace, pledged forever and always. Ethan, dashing in a tailored suit, swore, even beyond this life. They danced until dawn, drunk on bliss and bottomless champagne. The honeymoon was an indulgent gift from Olivia's father, a recently retired cop with a gruff exterior and a soft spot for his only child. He'd booked them A luxury cabin on the Cascadia Express, the same opulent train where he'd proposed to Olivia's mother 30 years before. Olivia was over the moon, remembers her mother Celine. She adored grand romantic gestures. She and Ethan spent weeks researching the history of the train, the scenic stops. It was an adventure and a love letter rolled into one. On the morning of October 13th, Celine dropped the beaming Newlyweds at the Vancouver train station. Olivia in a calf-length camel coat, Ethan in a cream fisherman's sweater, arms entwined. "Last hugs," Celine insisted, inexplicably teary as she embraced them. A ripple of foreboding, a mother's intuition. She couldn't have known it would be the final time she'd hold her daughter. The last glimpse of their faces before they boarded, the gleaming train, waving from the window as it pulled away in a cloud of steam. Chasing the horizon and eternity, 12 years later, Detective Samantha Novak stands in the morgue, staring down at those same youthful faces, now grinning up from faded wedding photos, strewn beside two skeletons on cold metal slabs. The decomposed remains of Ethan and Olivia Callahan. Bile burns her throat as she studies the pitted skulls, the broken fingernails, the fractures to the pelvic bones. This was no accident. This was slow, agonizing murder, and the killer got a 12-year head start. The Cascadia Express gleams like a burnished bullet, a sleek silver tube stretching a quarter-mile down the track. Porters in crisp uniforms bustle about, hefting luggage and ushering passengers aboard with practiced efficiency. The station buzzes with an air of old-world glamour. Women in faux fur stoles, men in tailored overcoats, the achingly romantic notion of losing, or perhaps finding oneself to the rhythm of the rails. Amid the bustle, newlyweds Ethan and Olivia Callahan are giddy with anticipation. After a champagne-soaked send-off from family and friends, they've boarded the train and found their private sleeper car, a mahogany-paneled cocoon of luxury with panoramic windows and a plush double bed. "A room fit for royalty," Olivia squeals, twirling around in her velvet flats. Ethan watches her, eyes soft with adoration, and snags her hand to pull her close. "My queen," he murmurs, brushing a kiss to her knuckles. "I'd follow you anywhere, you know, to the ends of the earth." "Well then," Olivia grins impishly, "buckle up, husband, because this is only the beginning." As the train lurches forward in a sigh of released brakes, they clink crystal glasses of Prosecco and trade giddy grins, the cityscape melting away into scrolling wilderness beyond the windows. Snow-capped peaks sketch the horizon. Unbroken forest rolls out like a viridian carpet. The occasional dirt road snakes into view, a stubborn cut through the sprawling backcountry. "Look at all that empty space," Ethan marvels, one arm slung around Olivia as he gazes out at the rugged terrain. "Imagine just disappearing out there, poof, like you never existed." Olivia shivers and burrows closer, a shadow flickering across her expression. "Don't say that. The world would be all wrong without you in it." The moment passes in a heartbeat, their giddy mood restored as a knock sounds at the door. It's a white-gloved attendant, impossibly crisp, bearing flutes of chilled champagne and chocolate-dipped strawberries on a silver tray. "Compliments of the Cascadia Express," he announces with a shallow bow. "May your journey be filled with beauty and wonder." Wonder, indeed. They while away the hours wrapped in plush robes, sipping champagne and feeding each other berries, licking sticky, sweet juice off their fingertips between feverish kisses. They make love slowly, reverently, as dusk smudges the sky in deepening shades of indigo, the train rocking them into blissful oblivion. It's nearing 8 p.m. when they emerge into the ornate dining car, flushed and famished. The car is a study in Art Deco elegance, inlaid mahogany, frosted glass sconces, tables draped in white linen. Beyond the windows, night has fallen in earnest, cloaking the wilderness in shadows. A tuxedoed waiter materializes to pour wine, the color of blood, Ethan peruses the French menu, brow furrowed in concentration. I can't decide, he admits. It all sounds amazing. Olivia reaches for his hand across the table, her new wedding band glinting in the lamplight. Let's be adventurous. Order for each other, no peeking. Deal? Deal, Ethan grins, signaling the waiter with a raised hand. This is their final confirmed sighting. This moment of wine and mischief, immortalized in a dining car receipt time-stamped 2017. The last breadcrumb before the trail goes cold, because by the time the train pulls into Revelstoke at 11:42 p.m., their cabin is empty. The bed is meticulously made, turned-down chocolates resting on the pillows. Olivia's book, Love in the Time of Cholera, lies spine up on the nightstand. Ethan's duffel bag is tucked in the corner, his running shoes neatly aligned beneath the bed. No evidence of foul play. No hint of struggle, not a thread out of place. They've simply vanished, disappeared without a trace, like mist burned away by the sun, like they never existed at all. Detective Samantha Novak paces the claustrophobic confines of the railway security office, the clack of her heels sharp and staccato. She studies the wall of grainy security camera stills. The Callahans boarding, hand in hand in Vancouver, toasting with champagne in the dining car. Olivia laughing at something Ethan whispers in her ear. They're so achingly young, so oblivious to the horror that awaits. It makes something splinter in Samantha's chest, some long dormant ember of idealism. She'd entered this grim profession to save people like Ethan and Olivia, to be the voice for the silenced. But she was 12 years too late. An impotent fury simmers in her veins as she reaches out to touch the image of Olivia's joyous face, fingertips hovering just above the glossy paper. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "I'm so damn sorry." She won't rest until she unravels this twisted riddle, until she exposes every dark secret, every dead end and false lead. She owes the Callahans that much. But as she turns to the stack of dusty case files and faded witness statements, a cold realization trickles down her spine. Because the answers she seeks may have died with Ethan and Olivia, their secrets buried. 6 feet beneath the hard, frosted earth, the Cascadia Express roars on into the night, an implacable silver serpent swallowing miles of moonlit track. But amid the clink of glasses and the rhythmic rumble of wheels, a suffocating silence screams the truth. Murder is on board. The Cascadia Express screeches into Banff Station at 7:15 a.m., disgorging bleary-eyed passengers into the weak October sunlight. They shiver and pull their coats tighter, breath pluming in the crisp mountain air. Porters scurry to unload luggage. Taxis queue up to whisk travelers to cozy chalets and luxury hotels. But as the crowd thins and the platform empties, 2 unclaimed suitcases sit forlornly beside the tracks. Monogrammed with ornate golden O and E, they're a jarring aberration in the smooth flow of arrivals and departures. "Mr. and Mrs. Callahan," a porter calls uncertainly, consulting his manifest. "Ethan and Olivia Callahan?" Silence. A few curious looks from stragglers. The porter frowns and makes a note on his clipboard. It's not entirely unheard of for passengers to disembark at an earlier stop, but they typically notify the staff, and they don't leave behind their luggage. He uneasily radios the conductor, who quickly sets the train to be searched from engine to caboose. Maintenance crews scour the underbelly. An icy sense of dread builds as each car turns up empty. No sign of the Callahans in the dining car, the observation lounge, or any of the sleeper compartments. By the time the Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrive on scene, the train has been picked apart like carrion. Forensics teams dust for prints and bag evidence. The uncorked champagne bottle, the scattered rose petals on the Callahans' rumpled sheets. Sniffer dogs zigzag down the aisles seeking a scent. Detective Ian McKinnon, a gruff 30-year veteran, scrutinizes the last known images of the Callahans captured by the train's security cameras. Their clinking glasses in the dining car, smiling at each other like love-struck teenagers. McKinnon estimates the timestamp at around 8:17 p.m. 7 minutes later, at 8:24 p.m., a different camera records a shadowy figure in a dark coat, exiting. The Callahans' sleeper cabin, face obscured. "Who the hell is that?" McKinnon mutters, zooming in on the grainy image. "And where are the Newlyweds?" He dispatches teams to search the rugged 150-mile stretch between Revelstoke and Banff, the remote swath of wilderness where the Callahans disappeared. Hundreds of boots hit the ground. Mounties, search and rescue, grim-faced volunteers. They fan out through dense forests and forbidding ravines, slogging through knee-deep snowdrifts, calling Ethan and Olivia's names until their voices go hoarse. But as the sun sinks and the temperature plummets, they find no trace of the vanished honeymooners. No tracks in the snow, no shreds of clothing snagged on branches. It's as if they've been swallowed whole by the merciless terrain. McKinnon returns to Banff, frustrated and chilled to the bone. He's greeted by pandemonium. A media circus has descended, reporters thrusting microphones and crying for comments. They're camped on the Callahans' doorstep in Vancouver too, hounding the shell-shocked families. Because this isn't just another missing persons case. It's catnip for the 24-hour news cycle. Two beautiful people vanishing on a storybook honeymoon, a luxury train, a wilderness ripe with secrets. The papers brand it the Newlywed Mystery. Network vans roll in, breathless pundits trading theories. On the evening news, was it foul play, a lover's quarrel turned deadly? Perhaps a tragic accident, their bodies buried beneath an avalanche or swept away by the raging Kicking Horse River. McKinnon grits his teeth and tunes out the noise. He has a sinking feeling in his gut, the kind that only comes with decades of peeling back the veneer of human darkness. This is no accident. Those kids, for Christ's sake, they're only in their 20s. They didn't just wander off for a moonlit stroll and lose their way. Someone took them. The questions nag like a bad tooth as he assembles the pieces of Ethan and Olivia's life, trying to find the hidden edges where motive meets opportunity. Who had access to that train? Who knew the intimate details of their honeymoon itinerary? And most unnerving, what kind of cold-blooded psychopath could look into Olivia's incandescent smile, Ethan's guileless eyes, and extinguish their light? There's a monster at the heart of this. McKinnon can feel it in his aching bones. Someone cunning and depraved, a predator who stalked the Callahans like prey and then pounced at the most vulnerable moment. He won't sleep until he finds that twisted soul and drags them into the unforgiving light. He couldn't save Ethan and Olivia, but by God, he'll avenge them. He'll see their killer rot behind bars until the devil takes his due. That's the vow he makes as he stares at their wedding photo, thumb tracing the delicate silver frame. They beam up at him, unbearably young and full of hope, frozen forever on the precipice of happily ever after. "I'll find the bastard," McKinnon rasps, eyes wet. "I swear on my life, I'll find him." 12 years will pass before he learns the truth. 12 years of dead ends and dashed hopes, of cold trails and colder comfort for the families ravaged by grief. 12 years until Anna Parrish walks into his life, carrying the key to the mystery in her wounded eyes and white-knuckled hands, and the truth will shatter everything he thought he knew about monsters and men. The years unspool like a sigh, the urgency of those early days giving way to the grim slog of an unsolved case. Detective Ian McKinnon's hair goes grey at the temples. His eyes acquire a permanent squint, as if he's perpetually scanning the horizon for clues. He gains a reputation as the Mountie who never lets go, the lone wolf who can't stop chasing ghosts. And oh, there are ghosts aplenty in the Callahan case. They haunt the corners of McKinnon's cluttered office, peer out from the stacks of paperwork. And faded evidence boxes, Olivia's emerald eyes, forever sparkling with mischief, Ethan's crooked grin, the one that made him look like a little boy on Christmas morning. Their absence is a presence all its own, a gaping void that pulls everyone into its orbit. McKinnon watches it erode the Callahan and Chung families, grief, eating away at them like rot in an old tree. Ethan's mother, once a vibrant social butterfly, retreats into a cocoon of Catholic rituals. She keeps a candle burning in the window of her cozy suburban home, a beacon for her lost boy. Every night she kneels on arthritic knees, rosary beads clicking a mournful rhythm as she whispers desperate prayers into the dark. Olivia's father, the stoic ex-cop, handles it worse. He crawls into a bottle and pulls the lid in after him. His retirement dreams turn to ash. He spends his days haunting the local dive bars, bloodshot eyes glued to the TV over the sticky counter, praying for a miracle that never comes. But the one who breaks McKinnon's heart is Anna Parrish, Olivia's younger sister, just 16 when the Newlyweds vanished, a wisp of a girl with Olivia's chestnut curls and wide, wondering eyes. Anna refuses to give up hope. Every weekend, she makes the 3-hour trek from UBC to the stretch of wilderness where the Cascadia Express last saw her sister. She pounds the dirt in battered hiking boots, Olivia's senior photo tucked over her heart, searching for any scrap of evidence the police might have missed. She leaves offerings at an impromptu shrine she's built beneath a towering ponderosa pine. Olivia's favorite candy bars, Polaroids of the sisters in happier times, gap-toothed and giggling in tutus and tiaras. A dog-eared copy of Love in the Time of Cholera, the last book Olivia was reading. I'll find you, Anna whispers to the rustling trees, tears streaking her wind-burned cheeks. I'll never stop looking, I promise. McKinnon sometimes joins her on those lonely pilgrimages. They comb the dense underbrush in companionable silence, the weight of their shared loss, an unspoken bond. He marvels at the strength of this slip of a girl, the sheer stubborn force of her faith. It reminds him of why he became a cop in the first place, to be a voice for the lost, a light in the darkness. But as the seasons change and the years stack up like cordwood, even Anna's resolve begins to waver. She graduates from college and takes a job at a trendy Vancouver art gallery. She moves in with a sweet-faced computer programmer who looks at her like she hung the moon. On the surface, she's moving on, but McKinnon sees the fissures in her brittle smile, the way her eyes slide away from the mirror, as if she can't bear to see her sister's face staring back. The slight tremble in her hands when she passes a newsstand, terrified of seeing Ethan and Olivia's faces splashed across the tabloids with lurid headlines screaming, "Cold case." He aches for her, for the tight coil of her grief, the way she holds it closed like a clenched fist. He knows that kind of pain, the way it hollows you out and leaves you scraped raw. He sees it in the mirror every morning, his own eyes dark with the knowledge of horrors left unsolved. But he's never been one to give up on a fight. And this fight, it's personal now. It's carved into the worn lines of his face, etched into the calluses of his palms. He'll find out what happened to Ethan and Olivia if it's the last thing he does on this earth. Even if it means staring into the abyss of human depravity. Even if it means confronting the monsters that lurk in the shadows of the Cascadia Express, their fangs sharp and dripping, he'll face them all down, one by one, for Anna, for the Callahans, for the bright-eyed girl in the senior photo, forever smiling on the edge of an endless golden summer. He'll bring Olivia home, or die trying. It's a bleak midwinter morning when the break finally comes. Detective Ian McKinnon is hunched over his desk, sifting through the Callahan file for the 1000th time, when his phone buzzes with an unknown number. "McKinnon," he barks, cradling the receiver against his shoulder as he scribbles a note in the margin of a witness statement. "Detective? It's Anna Parrish." The voice on the other end is breathless, shaky with adrenaline or fear. McKinnon. Can't tell. I think I found something in Olivia's case. McKinnon is instantly alert, his heart slamming against his ribs. What is it? Where are you? I'm at the gallery. Can you come? Please. It's important. 20 minutes later, McKinnon is striding through the sleek glass doors of the Vancouver Art House, his boots echoing on the polished concrete floors. Anna is waiting for him in the back office, her hands knotted in her lap, a flush high on her. Oh, cheekbones! I was going through some of Olivia's old things, she says without preamble, her words tumbling out in a rush. Stuff from the apartment she shared with Ethan before they disappeared. McKinnon nods, sinking into a chair across from her. He remembers that apartment, a cozy one-bedroom in Kitsilano with a view of the mountains. He'd searched it top to bottom after the Callahans vanished, looking for any clue to their fate. But it had been scrubbed clean, sterile as an operating room. Her landlord found a box in the storage locker downstairs. Anna continues, her fingers twisting in the hem of her sweater. He was going to toss it, but I asked if I could look through it first, just in case. She reaches into a drawer and pulls out a stack of papers, faded and creased with age. McKinnon takes them gingerly, his pulse quickening as he scans the topmost sheet. It's a lab report, dense with medical jargon and chemical compounds he can barely pronounce. But one word leaps out at him, circled in red ink and underlined twice. Ketamine. McKinnon's blood runs cold. Ketamine, the infamous date rape drug. Known on the street as Special K, it renders its victims compliant and suggestible, wiping their memory like a rag across a foggy mirror. It's the calling card of predators, the weapon of choice for monsters who hunt in the shadows. Anna, he says slowly, fighting to keep his voice steady. What am I looking at here? Anna takes a shuddering breath, her eyes wide and haunted. It's a toxicology report. From St. Paul's Hospital, Ethan, he was brought in by ambulance a few weeks before the wedding. Olivia found him unconscious on the bathroom floor of a nightclub downtown. She thought he'd had too much to drink, but it was ketamine. McKinnon finishes grimly. He was drugged. Anna nods, her lower lip trembling. The doctors ran a rape kit. It was positive for sexual assault. McKinnon feels a rush of bile scald his throat. He thinks of Ethan's easy grin, his gentle hands steady on the piano keys at the Callahans' annual Christmas party. The thought of someone violating him, preying on his trusting nature, it makes McKinnon want to put his fist through a wall. Did Ethan remember anything? He asks tightly, his knuckles white on the arm of his chair. Did he know who did this to him? Anna shakes her head, a single tear spilling down her cheek. He couldn't recall a thing after his second drink, but Liv, she wouldn't let it go. She started asking around, trying to retrace his steps that night. I think... She swallows hard, her voice dropping to a pained whisper. I think she found out who did it, and I think it got her killed. The words hang in the air like smoke, acrid and choking. McKinnon's mind spins with the implications, the dark possibilities unfurling like a poisonous flower. If Bolivia had uncovered Ethan's rapist, if she'd confronted them, Christ, it would have painted a neon target on the Callahans' backs. A motive for murder, clear as day. Do you have any idea who she suspected? He demands, an urgent edge to his voice. Any names? Any hint of who might have... No, Anna says miserably, fresh tears welling in her eyes. She didn't tell me. She said she didn't want me getting mixed up in it, that it was too dangerous. Too dangerous. The phrase tolls like a funeral bell in McKinnon's head. He imagines Olivia, stubborn and brilliant, charging headlong into the maw of a monster, trying to get justice for the man she loved, heedless of the cost. The same reckless courage that drove her to scale mountains and dive into riptides. It had delivered her into the hands of a psychopath, a soulless predator, a serpent lurking. in the privileged playgrounds of the elite. And now McKinnon must venture into that viper's nest, armed with nothing but a crumpled Tox report and a prayer. He must sift through the shattered pieces Olivia left behind, must follow the breadcrumbs she scattered in her desperate bid for the truth. Even if they lead him to the edge of the abyss, even if they throw him to the wolves in designer suits. And trust funds, the sharks who circle the lambs of the world with hungry eyes and charming smiles. He'll walk through the fire. For Ethan, for Olivia, for Anna, who sits across from him now with pleading eyes and salt-stained cheeks, still clinging to hope after all these years. He reaches out and takes her trembling hand in his own, a silent vow sparking between their palms. We're going to find them, Anna. The ones who did this, we're going to make them pay. And God help anyone who stands in their way. Detective Ian McKinnon descends into the glittering underbelly of Vancouver's elite like Dante, into the inferno. He prowls the marble halls of the city's most exclusive country clubs, oil-slick smile blasted on his face as he hobnobs with the rich and the ruthless. He haunts the VIP sections of nightclubs with $500 bottle service and lines of Coke cut on glass tables, watching the beautiful people preen and swagger, all hard eyes and sharp teeth. He's looking for a monster in Armani, a predator who hides behind wealth and privilege like a second skin. He studies the cadence of their voices, the way their hands linger on the small of a woman's back, searching for a tell, a flicker of cruelty behind the practiced charm. It's soul-crushing work, wading through the muck of human depravity. He comes home reeking of expensive scotch and moral decay, his skin crawling with the memory of sly innuendos and knowing smirks. He takes scalding showers and scrubs himself raw, but he can't wash away the taint, the sickening certainty that evil walks among them, sleek and smiling. Anna is his North Star in this cesspool, his one untarnished thing. She keeps him tethered to the light, even as he plunges deeper into the darkness. She pores over Olivia's old diaries with him, tracing her sister's fevered scribbles like Ariadne's thread. There are names that surface again and again, the glitterati of Vancouver high society, trust fund brats and tech bros, scions of old money and new. McKinnon runs background checks and criminal histories, but they're all squeaky clean, their sins expunged by Daddy's lawyers and a well-placed donation. Still, he digs. He calls in favors and twists arms, chasing whispers of hushed-up assaults and disappeared co-eds. He gets a name, then two. A pattern starts to emerge, a sinister web spun through the city's halls of power. At the center of that web sits Alistair. Bryce, golden boy, heir apparent to a real estate empire, prep school prince with a shark smile and a taste for pretty young things. McKinnon remembers him from the society pages, always with a starlet or socialite draped on his arm. He remembers him from Ethan and Olivia's wedding too, a blur of tuxedo-clad elegance in the background of the photos, a champagne flute dangling from his manicured fingers. Anna gasps when she sees him, a spark of recognition in her eyes. "That's him," she whispers, her voice trembling with a terrible certainty. The man from the nightclub, the one Olivia was asking about. McKinnon feels a chill skitter down his spine. He stares at Alistair's glossy smile, at the casual arrogance in his posture. The pieces are falling into place, a black picture taking shape. Alistair, the charming psychopath. Alistair, the rapist who preyed on Ethan and got away clean. Alistair, whose secrets Olivia had stumbled upon and paid for with her life. It's a wild theory, a shot in the dark, but McKinnon can feel it in his bones, the same electric hum that crackled through him when he first laid eyes on Ethan and Olivia's bones in that dusty evidence locker. The thrill of the hunt, the scent of blood in the water. He digs deeper. He unearths complaints buried by the Bryce family's attack dogs, tearful accounts from girls who woke up sore and ashamed, their memories lost to a ketamine haze. He tracks down Alistair's old rowing teammates, the ones who clammed up when questioned about Ethan's assault. Slowly, painstakingly, he builds his case, a dossier of depravity, chapter and verse on Alistair Bryce's venomous soul. It's not enough for a warrant, not yet, but it's a start, a foot in the door. He's closing in, the noose tightening around Alistair's privileged throat. He can feel it, the crackle of impending justice, the righteous anger building in his chest like a gathering storm. And then Anna disappears. 1 minute she's there, vibrating with the same manic energy that's propelled McKinnon through the last fevered weeks of the investigation. The next, she's gone, vanished into thin air, just like Olivia and Ethan on that fateful night 12 years ago. McKinnon tears the city apart looking for her. He kicks down doors and overturns stones, bellowing her name until his voice gives out. But she's nowhere to be found, swallowed whole by the hungry dark. He knows with a sick, sinking certainty who has her, who's taken his one good thing, his guiding light. He can see it in his mind's eye, vivid as a nightmare. Anna, bound and helpless, tears streaking down her face as Alistair looms over her, his perfect teeth bared in a predator's grin. "Come and get her, detective," he imagines Alistair taunting, his voice silken with malice. "If you can." It's a trap, of course. A twisted game, cat and mouse and mayhem. But McKinnon doesn't hesitate, doesn't stop to count the cost. He checks his gun and says his prayers, and he walks willingly into the lion's den. For Anna, for Olivia and Ethan, for every lamb ever sacrificed on the altar of evil men's appetites. He'll play Alistair's game, he'll follow his rules, and then he'll put a bullet between the bastard's eyes and watch the light go out. The Bryce family estate sprawls like a feudal kingdom on the outskirts of the city, all manicured lawns and Gothic stone. Detective Ian McKinnon drives through the wrought iron gates with his heart in his throat, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He knows he's being watched, monitored by the countless cameras that stud the property like unblinking eyes. He can feel the crosshairs on his back, the cold calculation of a predator sizing up his prey. Alistair is waiting for him in the grand foyer, a study in casual cruelty. He's draped in a silk robe, a snifter of brandy dangling from his fingers. His smile is a knife's edge, sharp and mocking. "Detective McKinnon," he drawls, his voice honey-sweet with venom. "I wondered when you'd come sniffing around. Took you long enough." McKinnon feels a white-hot rage boil up in his chest, his fingers twitching toward his holster. He wants to wipe that smirk off Alistair's face with the butt of his gun, to feel the satisfying crunch of cartilage under his knuckles. But he forces himself to be still, to breathe through the fury. Enna's life depends on it, on his ability to play this twisted game. "Where is she?" he grits out, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth ache. "Where's Anna?" Alistair tisks, swirling his brandy with an idle twist of his wrist. So impatient. And here, "I thought we could have a civilized chat, maybe reminisce about old times. You remember Ethan and Olivia's wedding, don't you?" McKinnon goes cold all over, a shard of ice lodging in his gut. He sees them in his mind's eye, the doomed lovers. Olivia radiant in white lace, Ethan beaming at her side. So young, so achingly. Alive before Alistair snuffed them out like candle flames, bright and brief. "I remember," he says, his voice a low rasp in his throat. "I remember you lurking in the background like a snake in the grass, sizing them up, picking your moment." Alistair's eyes glitter, a trace of admiration in the glacial blue. "Very good, detective. You're not as dumb as you look. Yes, I had my eye on our golden couple. So shiny, so perfect, I wanted to see what they looked like, shattered." He takes a sip of brandy, his tongue darting out to catch a stray drop. Obscene, a glimpse of the monster beneath the man. Ethan was easy. A few pills in his drink, a little roofie roulette. He woke up the next day with his virtue stolen and his memory wiped. Such a delicious shame, watching him crumble. McKinnon's nails bite into his palms, crescents of blood welling up. He tastes bile, hot and acrid. "And Olivia, what did you do to her, you sick fuck?" Alistair's smile widens, a shark scenting blood in the water. Olivia, now. There was a challenge. So fierce, so loyal. She came to me, you know. Begged me to tell her what happened to her precious husband. Offered me anything, everything. He licks his lips, a vile hunger in his gaze. I took her up on it, took her apart piece by piece until she was sobbing for mercy. Until she was broken and ruined, just like Ethan. And then I wrapped my hands around her pretty throat, and I squeezed until the light went out of her eyes. McKinnon lunges before he can stop himself, a roar of primal rage tearing from his chest. But Alistair is ready for him, a taser appearing in his hand as if by magic. The electrified prongs catch McKinnon in the ribs, and he goes down hard, convulsing. On the marble floor. Ah! Alistair tuts, standing over him with a boot on his throat. "None of that now. We're not finished with our walk down memory lane." He presses down, cutting off McKinnon's air. Black spots swarm his vision, his lungs screaming for oxygen. I took my time with them on that train, savored every scream. I made Ethan watch as I violated his bride, made him beg for her life. And when I was done, I slit their throats and tossed them out like garbage, left them to rot in an unmarked grave, forgotten and unmourned. He eases up, letting McKinnon suck in a ragged gasp. The world swims back into focus, Alistair's cruel visage, looming above, and now I have sweet Anna, the last leaf on the withered Chung family tree. She's a fighter, that one. She'll be fun to break. "No," McKinnon wheezes, scrabbling weakly at Alistair's ankle. "No, please." But Alistair just laughs, a cold, brittle sound. He grinds his heel into McKinnon's windpipe, stars exploding behind his eyes. "Don't worry, old man. I'll make it quick. A single bullet right between her eyes, a mercy, really, and then I'll do the same to you. Put you out of your misery like the dog you are." He raises the gun, the barrel yawning like a black mouth. McKinnon stares down the void, his heart a wild drum in his chest. This is it then. This is how it ends. On his knees, begging for a monster's mercy, he closes his eyes, an apology to Anna on his lips, to Ethan and Olivia, wherever they are. "I'm sorry," he thinks, a single tear tracking through the blood on his face. "I failed you. Forgive me." He waits. For the bullet, for the blinding flash of pain, but it never comes. Instead, there's a crash, a shriek, the unmistakable sound of flesh striking flesh. McKinnon's eyes fly open, and he gapes at the sight before him. Anna, fierce as an avenging angel, standing over Alistair's prone form with a broken vase in her hands. Blood streams from a gash in her forehead, her clothes torn and filthy. But her eyes blaze with a righteous fire, bright as the sun. "Get away from him, you bastard," she snarls, raising the jagged shard like a dagger. "It's over, Alistair, it's all over." And it is. In a blur of chaos and cacophony, the cavalry comes crashing. Through the doors, an army of cops in Kevlar with guns drawn. At their head is Samantha Novak, her face a thundercloud of determination. "Alistair Bryce," she barks, her voice ringing like a war cry. "You're under arrest for the murders of Ethan and Olivia Callahan. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." As the cuffs close around Alistair's wrists, as Anna collapses sobbing into McKinnon's arms, he feels a weight lift from his soul, a chains breaking at last. Justice, 12 years overdue, but no less sweet. For Ethan, for Olivia, for every forgotten ghost, every silenced voice. At long last, the wicked king has fallen, and the lambs may finally rest. The courtroom is packed to the rafters on the day of the verdict, a sea of hungry faces jostling for a glimpse of the monster in the dock. Alistair Bryce sits like a carved idol, smooth and unrepentant in his designer suit. If he feels even a flicker of remorse, a shred of human emotion, it doesn't show on his patrician face. But Detective Ian McKinnon sees him for what he is now, sees the rot beneath the shine, the maggots writhing under the mask. He stares at Alistair and feels nothing but a cold, calm certainty. Justice will be done today. The wicked will fall. Beside him, Anna Parrish trembles like a leaf in a storm, her small hand clutched in his big, scarred paw. She hasn't left his side since that fateful night at the estate, since she beat the odds and the devil and lived to tell the tale. Her testimony was the final nail in Alistair's coffin, the smoking gun that laid his sins bare for all the world to see. She spoke with a voice unwavering, a spine of steel, staring her tormentor down with eyes that blazed like Judgment Day. "He killed my sister," she told the breathless courtroom, a single tear tracking down her bruised cheek. "He took Olivia's light, her love, her life, and he laughed as he did it. Laughed as she begged for mercy, for him to spare Ethan, to let them go home. He is a monster, and he deserves to rot in the deepest, darkest hole for what he's done." Now, as the jury files back in, as the judge calls for order, Anna goes rigid at McKinnon's side. He can feel the terrified thunder of her pulse, the shallow rasp of her breath. "It's all right, lass," he murmurs, squeezing her fingers in his own. "We've got him dead to rights. He'll pay for what he's done. To Olivia, to Ethan, to you. I swear it on my life." She nods, a quick jerk of her chin, but he can see the doubt in her eyes, the shadow of old fears. She's been let down by so many, failed by the very system meant to protect the innocent. He can't blame her for her skepticism, her half-held breath. He's felt it too, the sinking dread that the powerful always skate, that wealth and privilege are the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card, but not this time. The gods are on their side now, the scales tipped at last in favor of the just. Samantha Novak made sure of that, moved heaven and earth to build an ironclad case. She called in every marker, burned every bridge, ruffled every gilded feather to get them here, to this moment of reckoning. McKinnon catches her eye across the courtroom, sees his own fierce hope reflected back. They nod to each other, a silent salute between warriors, between friends forged in the crucible of tragedy. The judge is speaking, her voice a low, measured cadence. The usual preamble, grave and sonorous. McKinnon tunes it out, his attention fixed on Alistair, on the barely perceptible tick in his jaw, the white-knuckled clench of his manicured hands. Cracks in the facade, the first sign of fear. Good McKinnon thinks savagely. Let him be afraid. Let him feel a fraction of the terror he inflicted on Ethan, on Olivia, on countless others, silenced and forgotten. Let him know in his bones that his time is up. The judge turns to the jury, her eyes solemn, behind her spectacles. "Have you reached a verdict?" The foreman rises, a balding man in an ill-fitting suit. He clears his throat, his hands shaking imperceptibly on the rail. "We have, Your Honor." The courtroom holds its breath, a collective inhale. Anna's nails bite into McKinnon's palm, little crescent moons of pain. In the case of the People versus Alistair. Bryce, on the charges of murder in the first degree, kidnapping and sexual assault, we find the defendant, a pause, a heartbeat, an eternity, guilty on all counts. The room explodes, a cacophony of gasps and cries, of flashbulbs popping and reporters shouting. Anna lets out a sob, her knees giving way. McKinnon catches her, pulls her to his chest. As she shakes and shudders, 12 years of grief and rage pouring out of her like lanced poison. "We did it," she gasps, her tears soaking his shirt. "Olivia, Ethan, they can rest now. They're free." "Aye, lass," he rasps, his own eyes burning. "They're at peace. Thanks to you. You're a damn hero, you know that? Bravest lass I've ever met." She laughs, a thin, watery sound, But there's relief in it, release, the beginning of healing, of hope reborn from ashes. As the judge reads out the sentence, life without parole, a pittance compared to what Alistair deserves, McKinnon lets his gaze drift to the gallery, to the front row where two seats sit empty, strewn with white roses, for Ethan and Olivia, forever young, forever loved. He raises a hand to his heart, a silent salute, a promise kept, a debt paid. Rest easy, kids. Justice has come for you at last. And she wears a badge and a brilliant, defiant smile. The sun is setting over Vancouver Harbour, painting the sky in strokes of orange and indigo. Detective Ian McKinnon sits on a weathered bench, watching the sailboats drift by, like wind-blown leaves. Beside him, Anna Parrish is a warm presence, her head resting on his shoulder. It's been a year since the verdict. A year of healing, of picking up the pieces and learning to live in a world without monsters lurking in the shadows. Anna has started painting again, bright, bold canvases full of color and light. She says it helps to put the darkness onto the page, to exercise it in shades of red and gold. McKinnon understands. He has his own rituals, his own ways of coping. Long walks in the woods, whiskey sipped by a crackling fire. Quiet talks with Samantha, the only other soul who truly knows the weight he carries, the scars he bears, their healing. Slowly, surely, scar tissue forming over raw, aching wounds, but there are still moments inevitable as the tides, when the grief crashes over them anew. When McKinnon catches a glimpse of a laughing young couple and sees Ethan and Olivia in their place, forever, frozen in time. When Anna wakes screaming from nightmares, Alistair's phantom hands around her throat. Those are the hardest days. The days when the victory feels hollow, the justice cold comfort, when the absence aches like a phantom limb. The might have beens are never were as sharp as knives, but they endure. They hold each other up, anchors in the storm. They remember the good times, the joy and laughter, the love that burned so bright it seared itself into memory. Olivia's smile, radiant as the dawn. Ethan's gentle hands, strong and sure. They remember and they honor, a legacy carried in the hearts of the living. I miss them, Anna says softly, her voice barely a whisper over the lapping waves. Every day, every hour, it's like a hole in my chest, a piece of me gone forever. McKinnon nods, his throat tight. He knows that ache, that unending throb of loss. He's carried it for 12 long years, a stone lodged beneath his ribs. I know, lass, he says, rough and low, but they're at peace now. They're together wherever they are. And they're so damn proud of you, of the woman you've become, the fighter, the survivor, the hero. Anna lifts her head, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I couldn't have done it without you, Ian. You never gave up, even when the world turned its back. You believed when no one else would. She takes his hand, laces their fingers together. A lifeline, a tether. Ethan and Olivia, they brought us together. Two lost souls, adrift in the dark. But we found each other, didn't we? We found the light. McKinnon. Smile's a rusty, unpracticed thing. But it's real and it's true and it's a beginning. Aye, lass, we did. And we'll keep on finding it every day. For them and for us. For all the tomorrows they never got to see. Anna rests her head on his shoulder once more, a sigh gusting from her lips. McKinnon wraps an arm around her, holding her close. And together, they watch the sun sink below the horizon, the sky ablaze with fading glory, a sunset, an ending, but also a promise, a whisper of hope. The night is long and dark, but the dawn will come, and Ethan and Olivia will be there to greet it, hand in hand, love eternal, a love that even death could not conquer, a love that lives on, fierce and free. In the hearts of the ones they left behind, the ones who will never ever forget. Rest easy, sweet souls. Your story is told, your song is sung, and it will echo forever and always. A requiem, a tribute, a symphony of grief and joy, of loss and love everlasting. For that is the legacy you left us, a melody that plays on, unending, even after the final notes fade away.